What's up, guys? It has been a while. I kind of ran out of knives to review, so I moved a lot of the ones that we've looked at in the past that I didn't love and kind of spread out a little bit to check out some new things. So, the first thing that we're going to talk about in this little return episode is kind of a divisive, controversial subject, which you might be able to guess by the title, is clones. So, for a couple of months there, I went kind of hard and heavy in on the clone market just to see what was out there, what was it was about, if they were any good, and whatever. And I'm not going to do a whole series of episodes. I'm just going to do kind of this one long episode giving you my thoughts on clones in general and kind of looking at a few of the ones that I kept. So I at first was turned off of clones. Obviously, it is pirated designs, and I wasn't really into that. However, I wanted a neutralizer. That was what kind of prompted this whole thing. And I don't know if you've ever looked at the price of one, but they're like $1,500, and that is more than I will ever spend on a knife. I guarantee you that. So when I saw that one of the clone makers, Jafool, had dropped a neutralizer, I decided, all right, well, now's my chance to own one. I'm never going to be able to buy a real one, and you only get to live once. So that was kind of the icebreaker for me. Here is that neutralizer. It came in one of these very cool little pelican boxes. Nice hard foam inserts, and really nothing else. No stickers or anything, but I mean, come on. The size of the newt is true. So we got 4.5 on the frame and 3.5 on the blade, giving you a 7.5-inch knife. The scales are milled titanium. They're milled in this radial pattern. The clip is really good. I mean, this is the best pocket clip I've ever seen on a knife. The ramp is great. It's really thin. So I've seen some people have problems with it bending here. I haven't had that issue, but it works really well. That super long ramp really guides your pocket right in here, and it works very well. For an opener, you've got two choices. You've got the hole here, which works great. And you've got a back flipper, which is really thin and kind of sharp and doesn't work as great. I mean, it still works very well. The detent on this thing is crisp and perfect, and it's not a problem. It's just, it could be more comfortable. As you can see, it's really thin. The blade shape is a reverse tanto, and it's great. Really tall, flat grind, so it's really slicey when you get down here to the edge. Got this really nice swedge here, and really great blade. Really great sight lines while you're cutting, and really nice. The only thing I would prefer is a choil, but not everybody likes a choil, so there you go. And you can kind of use this thing as an additional leverage point in lieu of that choil. The steel is 154 cm, which is fantastic. It's a great steel, and you don't need anything more than that, in my opinion. The finish is a stone wash, as you can see on there, and it's not my favorite finish, but it looks great on this blade, and I have no complaints. The action on this thing is a dream. This is exactly how it came out of the package. I haven't had to tune this thing at all. Now, I know that a lot of clones have a lot of variation, and you never really know what you're going to get, but my lord, did this thing set the bar high on clones. It's just perfect. Just give it a little rotation, and it closes right up. I mean, there's no shake or twitch or anything necessary. And the sounds are great. It just glides. It's on clone skiff bearings, and man, are they like just dreamy smooth. The lock is a frame lock, and it works great. We got about 45% there, I'd say. And man, everything about it, like the fidgetability is just so high. The only way that this thing could be more fidgety is if it had a front flipper, but man, the sounds, the feel, it's just oh, it is a dream. The ergonomics are likewise fantastic. A choil again would help me anyway, but you can get a full 4-finger grip despite the bevel there at the end, although any bigger hands than mine and you probably can't, and there's no choil to choke up. So that is a bit of a miss for me. However, it's never, I'm almost always using the knife this way anyway. It's not like I'm, skinning a sheep or, you know, cutting up sticks very often. So, I mean, most of what I'm doing is slicing, and for that, this knife is just phenomenal. Fit and finish is incredibly high. I mean, this kind of like stonewashed DLC handle sort of situation is a little dark and dingy looking, and I've seen people who've cleaned that up, and man, they do look really good. Uh, However, I think that this is a really nicely put together knife. Otherwise, you got these really cool pivots that add another layer of interest to the knife. Everything's really comfortable in hand. The, I mean, the clip just vanishes into your fingers. You can't feel it at all. Really well put together knife. The vibe of it is, I mean, it's super classy knife. Like, what are you gonna say? Um, it could have more, anodized bits or whatever, but I love it. I think it just looks great. It's very understated, almost tuxedo. I mean, obviously you could improve on this, but only just. Originally, I believe it was 98. After discounts and whatnot, I believe I got it for 83, and I am super happy with it at that point. Great steel, great materials. I mean, everything about it is great, and I'm very happy with this knife. So from there, we branched out to another kind of legendary knife, one of the big three, really. I wanted to check out a Strider SMF, and I thought, you know what? I am also never going to spend $1,500 on one of these, and you can't even buy them from Strider anymore. So I didn't feel super bad about getting a clone. This guy came in one of these kind of, generic sleeves. It's a big knife with kind of a small blade. We got a 3-inch cutting edge there on a 4-inch blade, and then you've got a further 5 inches on the handle. The scales are titanium, milled in this kind of wood block, wormwood sort of pattern, and then flame anodized, and I think they look great. This provides a really nice amount of texture, so the knife is never slippy, and they feel great in hand. The clip is sort of an industrial. It's not exactly Strider's clip, but I think it's pretty close, and it does the thing. No complaints. Certainly doesn't feel like a really nice pocket clip, but Striders aren't exactly known for their creature comforts. The opener is the thumb slash flick hole there, and it works great. There, no complaints. You can use the stop pins there as an opening device if you really need to, but the thumb hole works fine. So you don't. The blade shape is a drop point, and it's got a pretty cool like nightmare grind. You got this really slicey bit here, a little chunkier on the tip, really long swedge, but the blade is so thick that you still have a very comfortable purchase down here. You're not, threatening to slice yourself with the backside of your blade. The steel is D2, and it, I haven't sharpened it or anything so far. It has held its edge very well. I've just used it for boxes and whatnot, and I have no complaints. It's finished in stonewash DLC that has protected the blade so far, and I think looks pretty good. The action on this thing is great now that I've tuned it. Out of the box, it was incredibly bound up, and I had to do a lot of battle with this thing to get it to where I like it. However, now I love where it is. I think it is just perfect. It's better than any Strider, like legit Strider I've ever seen, and I couldn't be happier with this knife. The sounds it makes are fantastic, and I just really like it. The lock is a frame lock, and we got 40% lockup after all the tuning that I needed to do to get it, you know, to where it's actually fun to play with. And consequently, since we got it there, the fidgetability of this thing is super high. It feels great, sounds great, like I said, and yeah, love it. Because I have a bunch of M390 knives now, I don't use this. I don't carry it anymore. It just sits in front of my computer, and it's my fidget knife while I'm waiting for something to download or, you know, load up, or while I'm watching a video or whatever. The ergonomics of it are fantastic. It looks kind of crazy. You got all these swoopy, cornery bits and all this, but man, it feels great in hand. You can choke up on it any angle you want. Like, Mick Strider knew what he was doing when he designed this thing. It feels great. It doesn't matter how big your hands are. I mean, you know, you can get a full grip outside. You know, I mean, it's crazy, but super comfortable to use. This is not one that's very comfortable to carry. You know, like everything else is going to be more efficient in pocket. This is a hard use knife. And despite being D2, I wouldn't be really afraid to hard use this thing. The vibe of it is, what do you call it? Like mill double plus? I don't know. It's definitely a military feeling knife, but boy, it looks nice. It's a very, it has a personality for sure. It's a bit of an aggressive personality, but it's got more personality than most knives, I think. The price on this guy was great. I think it was $70 before discounts. I think I got it for 60, and man, you can't beat that. All right. So next up, we have the Sebenza from Alvelli. So this guy is the only clone that I purchased that came with like a branded box, and they are definitely so. Annoyingly, they did do the Idaho made and the CRK, and I just don't understand why. I don't. This is something that I'll get into at the end. But like, you gave me a nice branded box. Like, clearly you're proud of your work here. Why wouldn't you omit those things? Anyway, you get not only a nice presentation box with a nice foam insert and whatnot. You get you know, it's not an Allen key, obviously. It's a T8, but I've never seen that before with any knife. And then it also gets this leather pouch, which, you know, I will never use, but maybe magazine fit in there? I don't know. The knife itself is pretty freaking nice, actually. When I got it, it was super bound up, and I absolutely hated this thing. But it took me like probably 2 months to get it to where I like it. Now I really, really like it, actually. We're at 4 inches on the frame and 3 inches on the blade, so it's a nice, comfortable, usable knife. The scales here are a nice titanium insert into the titanium frame. Got this electrical anodization pattern there, and then you've got a matching little guy on the back, and that looks really nice. It's not the lightest titanium knife I've ever held. There are no cutouts or anything inside, and you can feel it, but it is really well balanced right on the finger groove, which is nice. No choil, but you don't really need one. It's a short blade, and you're pretty much right up on it. Similarly to the Newt, you can choke up on this little thing. The opener is a pair of thumb studs, and they work great, really accessible. You got this nice swooping cut into the frame here. I mean, it's not as nice on the other side, but that would, you know, obviously cut into the frame lock. Very accessible from the backside, no problem at all, despite the more shallow cut. The blade steel on here is hand brushed M390, and it's a nice American Tonto with this really nice chisel tip. And this thing is great for breaking down boxes. I have a couple knives now with the chisel tip, and I really appreciate the added sliciness down there. It is very effective. When I got this guy, the action on it was abysmal. It was so tight and locked up. I thought, man, I just threw this money in the trash. I will never carry this knife. I have taken it apart probably 40 times. and messed with it, tinkered with it, trying to get these two bends in the lock bar to give me sufficient lockup and detent without tightening the blade too much. But as you can see, I've gotten it pretty good. It could drop a little better, but it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it anyway. The sounds this guy makes are very different than all my other knives, which is one of the reasons why I keep it. It's quiet. Like I can do this in the living room while my wife is asleep in the next room and no problems at all. It's super quiet knife. The action's really good now that it's been fixed up. We got a frame lock, and the lockup is ridiculous. I mean, you can see here we're at like 80% or 75% or something, but if I go any less, I lose the detent. So pretty much what it is. However, that does mean that, you can do whatever you want to this knife, and it is not going to come closed on you. The fidgetability is pretty high. I wouldn't call it the most fidgety knife I have. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It feels great, open, close. It's just, it doesn't have the great sounds. It's not quite as satisfying on the close. It's a very utilitarian knife, despite having all this frippery on the outside. It feels like a knife that wants to be used for real cutting, and I'm confident that it can be, despite being a clone. Really nice blade steel and pretty well engineered. The price here was very nice. It was like $68 before discounts. So I think I paid $55 for it for an M390 blade. And this thing is sharp. I'm not afraid of any of my knives. It's been many years since I've cut myself, but cutting through anything with this knife makes you realize that you'd be halfway through your finger before you realize that you'd done any damage at all. It is a very nice, sharp feeling blade. Next up is the Jafool Rosie. It's a ubiquitously cloned design, so I wanted to check one out, and I liked the newt so well that I decided to try Jafool rather than Lemifshi or like Winter Pudding makes some too. This guy came as secondhand, so I didn't get anything with him. He just came in a bubble mailer. The size on it is a small knife, but it doesn't feel small in hand. You got barely 3 inches on the blade if you want to try to like talk yourself into the curvature and whatnot. The handle itself is 4 inches, and consequently you get a 7-inch knife, which is obviously pretty small. However, in hand, I mean, it feels like, assuming you lean into the choil, it fills the hand very comfortably. The scales are radial milled titanium. They feel great. No sharp edges or anything. Very comfortable. And lots of texture to grab onto. The clip is standard, I would say, titanium clip. It's got a nice convex ramp, which makes it easier to get into the pocket. Lots of space in there, so no complaints there. No real backspacer, a little bit there at the end. But all in all, very happy with that. The opening device is a thumb hole. It does work slowly for me with the thumb hole. I don't like trying to use it fast. However, the Spidey flick works great. The detent is mushy, but it's just there. You can load up on it enough that it's going to open every time that you pull on it. The blade shape is a really fat belly drop point, pregnant belly drop point. And normally that's not my favorite thing, but I just love the geometry of this. I like the way it drops down from the very, very top of the blade. So you get a lot of drop down to this fat belly. Really, switching to any other knife, I feel the difference. Like, you get the sliciness of this thing is very different, and you get used to using this, and everything else feels different to me. The steel itself is 154 cm in the stone wash. I think it looks great. I think it looks better than the blade on the Newt. And, as far as stonewash blade goes, that's pretty nice. So the action on this guy is pretty middle of the road. Not the best ever. The detent is mainly the reason why. It's just a little mushy, so you have to keep the lock bar a little tighter than you'd want. You got like 60% lock up here. to have any detent at all, which just means everything else is a little tighter than it needs to be. Consequently, despite the great sounds and everything, the fidgetability is just not super high, and that's why I don't really carry this knife. The vibe of it is great. I like the kind of radial frag pattern. The ergonomics are great, really comfortable in hand, provided that you're slicing. It's not really, you can get to the tip, but it's not very accessible. The vibe of it, though, is, classy. It's a good knife. Looks a little mall ninja with the blue in there. I wish it didn't have that, but whatever. I paid $60 for this. I think they're 75 new, and they're worth every bit of that, particularly if maybe you get a better version than, clones vary a lot from one knife to the next, even in the same release. So I'm sure there are better ones than this one out there. All right, so the last clone we're going to look at today is the best clone. This is the Becketon Overlord Dinosaur. This is a Nymble X clone, and it is phenomenal. It came in another one of these vinyl envelope sleeve guys, and it's a big knife. Looking at 3.5 inches on the blade and 4.5 inches on the handle, bringing you an 8-inch knife. The scales are diagonal milled M390, very comfortable in hand, lots of texture there, not going anywhere. And the clip is really well executed, in and out super easily, lots of space, nice. It's a shorter ramp, but it's convex and ramps your pocket in there real easily. The openers are plentiful. We've got a back flipper, a front flipper, and the thumb / spidey hole, and they work all very well. Detent on this thing is perfectly dialed in right out of the box. The blade shape is a very extreme drop point. Almost, it drops so far, it's almost a Warncliffe. Like that, it's pretty extreme drop point, but I like it. It works really well. You get a really good sight lines, and it's a really usable edge. It's not as hard to get to the tip. The steel is M390, as you may have noticed. It is bead blasted, and it's great. I know that this is M390. I've seen an independent test video of that. It's like 61 hardness, I think, and definitely true M390, so that's nice to know. And it feels and looks great in a hand. Nothing has ever damaged this thing. You can see there's been a little folding on the edge there, but barely any at all. And really good knife. The action is a dream. It's even better than the Newt. It's so smooth and flowing. The blade is weighty, and it just feels great. I haven't had a knife feel what I would describe as inevitable the way that my first Benchmade did, but this one does. Look at the close on this. You just rotate the handle up into it. There's no shake or anything necessary. It is perfect, which is good, because I have come to find out that this thing is locked up with red Loctite and a whole bunch of it. I have not been able to open it, but fortunately, I don't want to. It's so perfect that I see no need to get in there. I don't care if it's dirty. I don't care whatever it's doing. It can just keep doing it, because, man, it is perfect. If I could recommend a clone to anyone, it would be this one or its little brother. Lemifshi makes the Nymble clone in titanium and M390, and that is also a beautiful looking knife if you're looking for something smaller than this. The ergonomics are phenomenal. Really nice, easy handle. You can grip it any way you want. You got a choil. I love the way this knife feels in hand. The fit and finish is super high. You got these cool brass hardware instead of the more standard silver that you'd expect with the steel blade. And I just think it looks great. I think it's got a little personality of its own. And look at that back spacer. It just feels, the fit and finish is top tier on this knife. The vibe of it, it pulls in some of that brass, and just, I think it's a very nice looking knife. I'm going to say that it doesn't hit the top tier, but it's pretty close. All right, so there you go. This guy was the most expensive of my clones. It was 120 new after discounts. I think I paid about 105 for it, and it is worth every bit of it. Man, this is a fantastic knife. All right, so after all of that, what do I think of clones? Well, if you've been with me since the beginning, you know that the imperative for this channel is bang for buck. I mean, this is a practical thing. I am not looking to collect the nicest knives in the world. I'm not looking for status symbols. What I am interested in is getting something that I both love and can use for anything that I might need a knife for. I did have trouble finding that in legit knives in a reasonable price range, but that is somewhat I've found due to not necessarily knowing when to look and not really knowing what to look for. But I did find a lot of what I want in the clone market. In addition to these knives, I also had a few that I've sold. I had a Jaful Duck that was a great knife. I mean, there were absolutely no problems with it. The action of it was phenomenal. Um, Everything about it was great. It was just, I don't know, it was almost so good it was boring. I don't know. I didn't have to do anything to it out of the package, and it just felt kind of lukewarm to me. I didn't love it the way I do, say, the Newt. Now, as you see here, these are some very expensive legendary designs that I was never going to buy. I would have to be unbelievably wealthy to think that it was reasonable to spend $1,500 on a pocket knife. In my perfect world, the makers, the legit makers of these knives, would offer them in a more budget friendly setup rather than handmade safe queens or knives that are used by an exceedingly small subset of the population. If they could find their way to using 154 cm D2, you know, some less super steels, they would open up the ability to own these knives to a much larger percentage of the population. There are certainly makers in China that would love to pay these designers for their designs and then sell them to us in a budget-friendly orientation. And none of these makers have done that. We only live once, and I really feel like everybody should get to own a Strider knife or a Sebenza. And not everybody is going to be able to afford one in Magna Cut or, you know, LMAX or Vanax or whatever super steel you want to throw out there. Being able to get one in M390, which is a great steel, at under $100, I find it hard to be mad at the guys who are doing the cloning when a knife that's maybe 10% better than this one is 25 times the price. I still understand the complaints of the people who are concerned about intellectual property, and I don't discount that. But I do not have the wealth to have the level of morality that I would need to care that much about the intellectual property of a guy who's been selling $2,500 knives, basically the same design, for what, 30 years? I don't know. Then there's this. The knife that this is cloned from is pretty reasonably priced. It's a $450 knife. So compared to all of these, this one is the clone that I feel least good about, despite being my favorite of the clones. However, I'm going to buy a legit Nymble X because I bought this clone and like it so much. So again, there are lots of different reasons to buy a clone, and this just kind of showcases a few. Others might be, people personalize these knives with anodization, cutouts, all kinds of things. Some people don't like flipper tabs, so they cut the flipper tab. Who's going to cut the flipper tab off a $2,000 knife? However, if you get a clone, you can do it and not feel bad about it. You can laser inlay the blade or whatever and not have to worry about it. And I think that there is certainly a use case for clones. Now, there are some weaknesses as well. The QC is not great. I have heard tell of and seen video of knives exactly like this one, same pattern and everything, that were nowhere near as good. I saw a video the other day of a version of this knife that was all locked up and ridiculously tight out of the box. This one was super tight out of the box, and I can imagine there are people out there who got nice ones. And same with this. I don't know that, I mean, this is such a heavy duty knife that I don't know that any of these necessarily came super smooth out of the box, but you get my point. There's a wide range of variation in the quality of the knife, in the tuning of the knife that you're going to receive. So even if you get the same excellent M390 blade and all that stuff, you're going to have to put forth a little more work to get it to the optimal level, unless you get one like this, which I feel like might have been the one they used in the video. So that is my take on clones. I think that it is a viable market because the manufacturers of the legitimate versions of these knives have made it a viable market, and they could end it at any time very easily and make a whole bunch of money in the process. So I guess there you go. Now, in the next episode here, we're going to take a look at some legit Chinese knives that I bought that I very much like. And it's a pretty good cross section of the sort of mid-range Chinese brands. We've got Tucson, Wee Knife, Sativian, which I don't know a whole lot about, but I love that knife. So, might have to find out some more. And Megaron. Then I have a Kunwu coming that will sit right about here. So if you're interested in checking that out, definitely hit the bell, and I'll have that out I'll probably do that one in 2 installments. I'll probably do these 3 and then these 2. If you've enjoyed this, I would really appreciate a like. And this is kind of my home now. So if you have really great knives in the $100 to $200 price point, you can see what I like here. We like front flippers with Spidey Flick access and frame locks. Please let me know in the comments. I would love to get them in here and check them out. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your time. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Don't forget, we're all in this together. So be excellent to each other and be good to yourself as well.